up, ladies and gentlemen? Akulon here, and welcome back to each and one of you. And of course, if you are new to the channel, thank you so much for joining us. I am very happy to have you here. Of course, in today's video, we are taking a look at Frostmourne and Arthas. Now, we've done videos on Arthas and Frostmourne before, and before people go, oh my god, you're just copying Balila. No, the video that Balila made during the week, we've actually done, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago already at this point. So that video has already been made, and hopefully Alex will have that on the screen somewhere here. Hopefully he'll have the thumbnail for that. I will see if I can put it in the link in the description down below if you want to see our video on it. But this video more specifically focuses on Frostmourne and exactly what Frostmourne is, since we've got brand new information from Steve Denuser in 2 new interviews, kind of giving us hints at what exactly Frostmourne does. Remember, you can follow me live on Twitch every Tuesday to Friday. The link is in the description down below, or live right here on YouTube every Sunday for the Sunday night Shill Show. Ladies and gentlemen, please remember to hit a like on this video. Also, dislike if you don't like the video, and hit that subscribe button. Even if you don't like me, fuck it, I don't care. Just hit the subscribe button. Why wouldn't you? Enjoy the video. So let's just quickly break this down so that hopefully all of you are on the same page as I am when it comes to the excitement around the Helm of Domination and Frostmourne. So first and foremost, in this interview, Steve Denuser tells us, as I said, the jailer was one of the first people, at least him and his followers, whoever they may be, him and his generals, if you will, were one of the first groups of people that learned how to forge actual souls into weapons. And it actually, it doesn't just mean I take you and I teach you a lot of things and now you've become a weapon. It means physically reducing your free will and just making you a fucking weapon. The jailer learned how to do this, right? As for the Primus, and this is why I need to mention this, because this is where Steve Denuser's, this is where he started that conversation. He spoke about the Primus and what the Primus does. The Primus is a rune carver. Yeah, so the Primus have learned how to craft these incredibly powerful weapons using different kinds of runes. This is where, when you asked me about the runes and whether or not they might be a language, I believe the runes are almost like a conduit of power. So depending on the types of runes that you put on a weapon, it could channel different types of power. You could even probably build a weapon that could channel an actual, like could channel your power through the weapon if you allowed for the runes on your body to also align with the runes on the weapon, which by the way is exactly what happens with the jailer. The runes on his body match that of the runes on the blade. Right? So the Primus is a rune carver. The jailer is almost like a fucking soul carver in a way, right? He carves actual souls and turns them into weapons. Now, what's very interesting about that is immediately when you think about the Helm of Domination and Frostmourne. Now, when you read about Frostmourne, it is said that Frostmourne had a mind of its own. Whenever Frostmourne slays someone, it would learn from the person that it killed. It would learn its fighting style, its tactics. It would learn its strengths and weaknesses. And the blade merely needed to be held. They actually spoke about the physical weight of Frostmourne and said that the weight was no hindrance. So even if Arthas could barely pick up this blade being so fucking heavy, you didn't need to really wield the blade. The blade wielded itself, so effectively you just kind of have to hang on as the blade does its own thing. Yeah, the more you kill, the more advanced this blade gets. So the question then becomes, whose soul was used to forge Frostmourne? How was Frostmourne actually developed? How was it made? And could that be something that we explore when we dive into the Shadowlands? When we dive more and more into the maw? Is this going to be something that Blizzard wants to explore? Even going over to the Helm of Domination, is it the same soul that crafted both of these weapons? Is it 2 different souls that crafted this? And just on that point, because I know this is a question I get a lot, the jailer has not been willy-nilly planning his escape from the maw for the last few years, right? A lot of people have been asking me this. Do you think the Shadowlands breaking is when the jailer finally decided to start, you know, trying to get out of the maw. No, I believe the Shadowlands breaking is directly related somehow to the jailer, and I still believe that it has something to do with the breaking of that damned lantern. But I actually have a theory on this. Before we go any deeper, let me just share this theory with you guys. We see Sylvanas with Helia, and Helia tells Sylvanas not to forget the deal that they've made, yeah? To honor the deal that they have made. We then see Sylvanas trying to enslave Ayer. And then, of course, we see again Greymane breaking the lantern. And I'll get to all super chats and members and everything after I cover the video. Otherwise, I forget what I want to say. But thank you very much for that. So, we all assumed that the deal Sylvanas made was to get the lantern, enslave Ayer, and then do something for Helia. What if the enslavement of Ayer was Helia's part of the bargain? What if the enslavement of Ayer really didn't have anything to do with Sylvanas? Remember, Sylvanas' ultimate plan all this time has been to open the way for the jailer, to open the way to the maw. Sylvanas wouldn't need Ayer for that. In fact, Sylvanas now has a legion of Forsworn at her disposal. And the Forsworn do exactly what Ayer and her Valkyr do. So, Sylvanas wouldn't need Ayer. Who would need Ayer? Helia would. If Ayer is the one who keeps Helia in Helheim, then Ayer being distracted or perhaps enslaved is Helia's ultimate plan. But what if it goes even a little bit more darker than that? And I in order to come up with this theory, I really had to think about who Helia is. She's a spiteful bitch. Let's just be very upfront about this, yeah? Helia is a spiteful bitch. Helia being inside Helheim was the result of Odin effectively forcing her there against her will. He killed her and then threw her inside Helheim, yeah? Odin uses Ayer to sort the souls. So Ayer gets the souls that Odin needs, and she takes them to Valhalla, and she takes the other souls to Helheim, right? That's sort of the, she is the arbiter of Odin, if you will. So what if both of them, their deal was actually similar? So Helia said to her, I will give you the lantern that opens the way to the maw, that breaks the arbiter. Here's why I think the arbiter had to be broken. As long as the arbiter exists, Helia will die inside Helheim and then always end back in Helheim. Because the deal that Odin made with his eye was actually a deal with the arbiter. The deal that Odin made with the arbiter was that he gets to keep his souls in order to ensure the safety of Azeroth. And the arbiter was absolutely willing to do that for him. And of course, the arbiter also said, all right, and I'll keep Helia inside Helheim. So in order for Helia to get out of Helheim, the arbiter needs to be offline. But then Helia has a dark little smirk, a dark little thought. You know what? Fuck Odin. I do want to get out of Helheim, and that would serve me well. But I also want to screw that bastard. So take away his Valkyr. Take away his sorting hat. If you can enslave her, then Odin will truly be left weakened. Because we now do see Helia inside, the, shall we say, we see Helia inside the maw. She is no longer inside Helheim. And Helheim and the maw is not the same place, yeah? So she's no longer in Helheim. She somehow ended up in the maw. She is now working with the jailer. I believe that lantern is going to be the key to unlocking it. But anyways, let's get back to Frostmourne and how exactly I believe the jailer has been planning this whole thing all along. The jailer ensured that the Helm of Domination and Frostmourne would make its way to Sargeras. He knew Sargeras wanted to destroy all the world, and the reason Sargeras wanted to do this is his fear of the Void. the jailer, and his followers, the Nathrazim, piggybacked on this fear. Right? They used Sargeras' fear to create the Lich King. But the Lich King, as I've already stated, is not the actual wearers of the helm. Ner'zhul, Arthas, they're not the actual Lich Kings. They are simply vessels of the Lich King. How do I know this? I've shown you this. I've shown you guys this last week. Bolvar states that he can hear a dark force inside the helm, even though the helm is shattered. And then he says, not Ner'zhul, not Arthas, something else. The problem with Ner'zhul is Ner'zhul never had his body. Yeah? So Ner'zhul could never wield the blade. You see, this was a two-pronged plan by the jailer. The blade will steal the soul, in otherwise making you an empty vessel. The helm would fill that soul with the jailer. See, the jailer couldn't escape, and we also learned this in this interview, by the way. In the second part, Steve Denuser actually talks about this. The Primus is like, he's this grand-scale tactician, yeah? That all he ever does is he tries to think ahead of what could go wrong, where could it go wrong. And the reason he is missing is because he realized the jailer is working with someone. The Primus realized that the jailer has influence in the rest of the Shadowlands, and that he might have allies in the Shadowlands. That's allowing him to spread his influence on Azeroth and also within the Shadowlands. And this is exactly why the Primus has gone missing. He is, shall we say, looking into matters. But he needed to leave Maldraxxus in order to do so. So the jailer has been working with the Nathrazim for a very long time, piggybacking on Sargeras' fear to create Ner'zhul. But remember, Ner'zhul actually stated that he didn't want to destroy the universe. He didn't want to kill everyone on Azeroth. So this is where immediately the whole theory of the jailer actually being the Lich King falls apart, because Ner'zhul didn't want to do what the Burning Legion wanted him to do. He just wanted to be free of the Burning Legion, you see, because Ner'zhul could never wield both parts of the key. So the jailer used what little influence he had to push Frostmourne out of the encased ice into Northrend, where Arthas would find it, and Arthas would ultimately lose his soul, eventually, through the blade, and then once he donned the helm, Arthas truly was an empty vessel. As I've already stated in last week's video, when you look at the final moments of Arthas, he asks his father, "Is it over?" That is not the words of a man who was in control of what happened there. Why would he ask, is it over, if he was the literal guy doing all this shit? He wouldn't, right? The fact that he asks, "Is it over?" tells you that Arthas was never in control of what happened to him there. So the argument as to whether or not Arthas is going to get a redemption story is null and void. Arthas doesn't need a redemption story or even a saving grace story. Arthas had nothing to do with what happened there. Arthas was a victim of circumstance. Again, a puppet of the cosmological forces doing their own thing, and the rest of us suffer for it. This is what Arthas was. This was all Arthas ever was. Now, as to the question whether or not Arthas is going to fight against or for the jailer, I personally want Arthas to fight with the jailer. I can see Arthas as one of the generals of the Moorsworn, one of the generals of the leaders of the Moor. This, of course, depends on whether or not it is Arthas the Paladin inside the Moor, or Arthas the Death Knight inside the Moor. Was he ultimately reunited with his soul when Frostmourne broke? Or was his soul still gone? This is another thing that I think a lot of people don't necessarily keep in mind. Remember, Frostmourne was shattered. The souls escaped. Could the final Arthas, that Arthas that we see lying there on the ground, could that Arthas be reunited with his soul? Could that be why he asks, is it over? Because he's finally been merged again with his soul, with the paladin side of who he was. And then, of course, the one thing I wish to see, that I don't know if we'll ever see it, but I do want to see it, is Jaina and Arthas reuniting once more. I need that desperately. I need to see a CGI cinematic with Jaina and Arthas being reunited. I just think that would be too fucking good.